Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to start off this lesson by giving all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahushua, by Hashem, Ruach The honor is due unto the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone that rule well, that taught me this truth. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect. I'm the brother Qadam Malak. I want to bring out another lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Hashem, Yahushua. May this lesson be edifying to the elect, whatever that may be, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. To the Israelite foreigners that look like the other nations, but their line goes back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, which make them Israelites pursuing the Numbers 1 and 18. That's how we declare our lineage, by the seed of our fathers. And I just want to get into this lesson because I seen, on the news last night, they were saying that 40 million people are at risk, all right, with the whole, EBT and being affected by SNAP, and that, this can trigger the, this can trigger one of the greatest, hunger catastrophes since the Great Depression. And that's what's being said. So a lot of people are getting ready to be affected by this, if they continue to go on with it. And a lot of people are going to, really, starve. A lot of people, are getting ready, to feel truly the wrath for Yahweh Shem Yahushua, if they continue to, drag on, with the government being shut down and, taking away these benefits, man. All right, and what actually comes with that, is a lot of civil unrest, a lot of crime rates going up. All right, because before people starve, they fend for their life. They jump in survival mode, and people are willing, to do whatever it takes, all right, for them to have to eat. As the scriptures say, it's better to die by the sword than to die by the hunger. All right, so people ain't the same when they hungry. It's almost like the commercial, the Snicker commercial. People are really they're not the same when they hungry, man. People resort to violence, right? So with that, let me get this real quick. This is 2nd Esdras, chapter 6, verse 22. And suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown. The full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty. Right? So you're gonna see, a lot of people are, getting ready to ramshack these stores. You see, Jake, they making videos about, the crimes, which is stupid. They're talking about the crimes that they're getting ready to commit, if they're not receiving, this link. How they gonna bust up in the store, how they gonna steal, how they gonna rob, really how they gonna pretty much Jake is ready to loot some shit. Alright? And it's not only Jake, but yeah, you got more Edomites that on EBT than Jake. Alright, you don't think they ready to flip some shit too? Alright, everybody, 40 million people are getting ready to feel this effect. So, this month of November, man, could be, catastrophe. Right? But, we understand it, to be all prophecy. This is, we're seeing, this is uproars of the people. Right? So, hey, that's just what it is, man. Let me get this real quick. All right, let me get this in 2nd Esdras, chapter 15. Let's see where I want to start at. 2nd Esdras, chapter 15. Let's start at 12, right? 2nd Esdras 15 and 12 says, Egypt shall mourn, and the foundation of it shall be smitten with the plague and punishment that Yahweh shall bring upon it. Right? So ultimately, Yahweh Shem Yahushua is causing Egypt to err. All right, and he's bringing, forth, that punishment. All right, because the sins of Babylon the Great, the sins of Esau, Edom, they've reached into the clouds, they've reached into the heavens, and as the scripture say in Lamentations, that the Lord is discovering their sins. All right, that He's discovering their iniquities, and our iniquity is at end. All right, beginning with the elect. Right, so truly, Esau, Edom, all right, the so-called white man, he's the devil, right, and the cruel Lord spirit is getting put on him. He's being cruel. The scriptures say, that his people should complain about an ungodly father. So you got Esau, Edom, they're complaining about their higher ups and how things are being ran. You know? And truly, Esau Edom, this is what he needs to bring forth, his new world order. He need the order out of chaos. He need the people acting crazy. He need the people, flipping shit so he can be justified in bringing those troops in and bringing, the military, right? Police in the state, you know. It's really, problem and solution. These people, they come with the problem. Well, Esau Edom truly, he's the one, he sets up the problem. People fall for it, they fall for the snares, and he comes with the solution. And ultimately, his solution, is to get everybody tracked. Bring forth the charagma. Be a god over you people. Enslave you people. But hey, the scripture say when he think he's about to fill his belly, that the wrath of the Lord is going to come upon him while he is eating. Right? So let's get verse 13, 2 Ezra 15 and 13. They that till the ground shall mourn, for their seeds shall fail through the blasting of hell, and with the fearful consolation. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and the destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another with swords in their hands. And the modern day sword is the gun. So, as I mentioned, whenever you get hunger, you get violence. Whenever you get poverty, you get violence, and people are going to get ready to resort to that. They're saying, oh, before my kids starve, I'm gonna wreck shit. Before I starve, I'm taking somebody else's groceries, man. That's the mind frame, of these people. Especially, our people who don't trust in Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shah. See, we got faith in the Lord that, hey, whatever case it may be, that the Lord is gonna feed his men. As the scriptures say, my men shall eat, my men shall drink, but these people should be ashamed. So it says, so yeah, people are gonna, they're gonna grab their weapons. They're gonna grab their weapons. Verse 16, for there should be sedition among men, and invading one another. They should not regard the kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. Right? So the scriptures talk about the sedition. Right? And sedition means to rebel. Right? So rebelling against, the kings and the princes, but you already see that, these people, they got a no kings, protest. Almost in every state, people are, protesting, against the government, against the governors of the city. You know what I'm saying? Right? They're not regarding what they have to say about anything. When people, can't make a living, when people can't pay bills, when people, are truly affected, they don't care about what the government or what the president's got to say. They're gonna take matters into their own hands. Right? It says, verse 17, a man should desire to go into a city and not be able. And why is that? Because when things get too crazy, and get too out of hand, Esau Edom, he always, he come down with that martial law. He come down with that National Guard, and they block the streets off. And we even seen it during the C-19. Around that time. Well, no, Salakia. Well, it was around that time when you had that George Floyd. And when people start uproaring about it, hey, the police, they start just you're speaking, within this city of Champaign. When people start looting and start busting in buildings and doing all that, we seen, hey, Esau Edom came down and he started shutting certain streets down. He even shut it down where you couldn't even jump on the highway to get to another street. And that was just a quick example of how they can shut it down where you can't enter into another city. But ultimately, the time is gonna come where they gonna put the squeeze on shit. They gonna put the lockdown on shit. You ain't gonna be able to just go to another city. You ain't gonna be able to just travel. Verse 18, for because the pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. All right, and that's the times we're coming into. All right, we're coming to, a fearful time. Well, these people, they don't know if they're going to, make it within that next minute. All right, from all the trouble, and all the chaos. Because let's just say, for example, Esau Edom, he just, opens the government back up. All right, he give people their link card. All right, everybody feel, the weight off their shoulders and they feel like everything's back to normal. Just say he does do that. All right, ultimately, the time is going to come where it's all going to happen again. All right, but the time it happens, it ain't going to go back to the norm. Hey, the prophecy, it will be fulfilled. So, hey, things could get crazy. Or, Esau Edom, he can give you the link cards back and make you feel like you're all comfortable, like, as everything is back to normal. But ultimately, all right, with prophecy, these things are going to happen. Right? Verse 19, it says, a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy the houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of lack of bread and for great tribulation. Right? As the scripture say, men shall fight like enemies in that time. So, people are getting ready to get their houses ramshacked with the sword, which is the modern day gun. All right, because of what? Lack of bread, because of no food, man, and great tribulation. So those are times that we're entering into, man. So you gotta, hey, this is prophecy. All right, and we telling people that, hey, these things are gonna happen. And it's the will of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. So these things that are taking place, hey, it's all prophecy. It's all supposed to happen. And Jake is getting ready to fit it, because ultimately, hey, the Lord got to pull the comfort rug from under you niggas, because you trust in Esau Edom and you trust in oppression. And if you continue to trust in this devil, then ultimately you're gonna get ready to bend the knee, all right, and receive whatever he's getting ready to bring, or whatever he's gonna bring. As the scripture says, we are not ignorant of Satan's devices. All right, one of those devices is the sea hip, is the charagma. All right, what you ain't gonna be able to buy, you ain't gonna be able to sell without it. Right? Let's end it with that real quick, because ultimately that's what it's coming down to. Right? So, Revelation chapter 13, verse 16, and he calls it all that he is who Esau Edom, both small and great, rich and poor, and free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead. That mark going to what? Charagma, which to mean, to stamp, all right, to brand. All right, he wants, to brand you. He wants to show that, he owns you. Right? It says, verse 17, and that no man may buy or sell, say he that have the mark in the name of the beast or the number of his name. See? So you ain't going to be able to buy, you can't sell without it, really. You can't live in this system, without it. Right? So, he's, this devil, right, he's bringing forth that man-made famine. He's taking away the benefits, all right, because he getting ready, to get you people to be comfortable with the uncomfortable, all right, and not have nothing unless you come to him, all right. That's why you got to trust in Yahweh Shem Yahushai. Actually, let me get one more scripture. Because we ain't finna bug out. We ain't finna loot these stores. We ain't finna do none of that. We don't have to. We got to trust in Yahweh Shem Yahushai. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 65, verse 13. It says, therefore, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, behold, my servants shall eat, but ye shall be hungry. Behold, my servants shall drink, but ye shall be thirsty. Behold, my servants shall rejoice, but ye shall be ashamed. Behold, my servants shall sing for joy of heart, but ye shall cry for sorrow of heart, and shall howl for vexation of spirit. And we've seen a lot of people doing that. They crying and they howling now because they vex about the benefits. But hey, we trust in the Lord that, he going to look out for us. All right, the Lord, he's going to feed us. Right? He's going to make sure, we straight because, hey, we trust in him. Right? So, hey, that about does it for this lesson. Lord willing, the elect was edified. Until next time, all praise and the glory be due unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shah, Ba'ashem, Recha HaKodash. The honors due to the elders in the apostles' great meal. So I'm going to say shalom.